Hey everyone, this is Stelly FT with Close.io, and in today's video, we're gonna demystify if buyers are truly liars. All right, so here's the deal. I have a very large email course, Sales for Startups. It's a free email course. You can go online and subscribe to that. And one of the lessons that I share and send out as an email to tens of thousands of people at this point talks about kind of common mistakes and common golden wisdom in sales. And at the end of the email, I asked the readers and the students of the email course to respond and share some of the wisdom that they have learned over the years. Well, this morning I got a reply, and the gentleman there said, Stelly, this is not a nice quote. This isn't something that's popular to say. I know it sounds harsh, but buyers are truly liars. And that dude made me think for a second, I know that quote. It's kind of, I don't know when it originated, but it's kind of an old school, old salesperson's quote. Buyers are liars. It rhymes nice, and there is a kernel, there's something there that I felt would be fascinating to kind of unravel and uncover and analyze here with you, because it's definitely something that I've noticed over the years. And I'll come out with my conclusion right away, and then I'll tell you how I got there and what you can learn from it. My conclusion is that it's not true that buyers are liars, but what is true is that most salespeople are pretty naive. Doesn't rhyme as nicely, so probably won't go into the books of famous sales quotes that people are going to be throwing around there, but it's true, salespeople are naive, are pretty naive individuals, and it's not really that buyers are liars. Let's go back and analyze this and look at the heart of the statement. The reason why a lot of salespeople say buyers are liars is that a lot of salespeople will encounter situations where a buyer or prospect will tell them something. Later on, that buyer will act discongruently to that statement, right? They'll say, this is too expensive, and then they'll buy a competitor's product that was even more expensive. The buyer will say, well, we won't make any decision in the next few weeks, and then they make a decision much faster. There's all these situations where a buyer will tell a salesperson something, and then they will act in a way that seems like they lied before. I honestly believe that most buyers, I'm sure some buyers are liars, some people are liars, but most buyers are not truly liars. There is a whole list of reasons why there is incongruency, and it's your job as a salesperson to figure that out and master it, control it, and influence it. So here's the deal. Like, most salespeople are overly eager to close the deal. Most salespeople are so eager to be liked, and I talked about this before. We'll link up to that video. They're so eager to be liked. They're so eager to close the deal that they will believe anything and everything a buyer tells them. And they will take it as truth on face value. They'll never challenge it. They'll never go deep. They'll always take whatever information they get at the surface. If there's incongruency at the statements, they won't challenge them. They won't really do a good job qualifying the prospect and buyer, truly understanding the buyer. And therefore, they just believe everything they hear at the surface. And then when reality hits them and things go a different way, they blame the buyer versus taking ownership and responsibility for doing a poor job at sales. So what happens a lot of times is at the beginning of a salesperson's career, they're overly eager, and whatever the buyers say, they take as gospel and truth. So a lot of times junior salespeople will come to me and they'll go, Stelly, they won't buy if we don't give them this amount of discount, or they really will not do XYZ if we don't deliver this feature to them, or this buyer said they really will go with our competitor if we don't do X, Y, and Z. And it's apparent that they just completely believe anything and everything they hear. That's phase one. Then, what happens a lot of times for more mature salespeople is that eventually they learn to draw a line in the sand. They learn, how to qualify somebody and to not try to close every deal and please every prospect, but they learn to focus on figuring out who's the right fit for us and only sell the people that are the right fit. And they'll learn to draw the line in the sand in terms of negotiations, understanding what is a good deal for us and what isn't anymore, and focusing on delivering and closing good deals and not just any deal. So then what happens, and this is what happened for me, is you start being okay with losing the deal. So you start being okay telling a prospect no to their request, rather than say, we won't buy if you don't give us this and this discount. And I go, well, I want you to buy. I think we can deliver amazing value. But if this is truly the line in the sand for you, then we won't be able to work together because that's a price I can't give you, right? It's a price I can't match. And when I start, and this is just one example, when I started saying no to prospects whenever it didn't make sense to say yes, and they still bought, and this happens again and I can't tell you how many times a prospect told me, we won't buy if you don't do insert whatever you want, build this feature, give us this type of consulting, offer us this discount, do something that we want from you that you can't do right now, can't promise us. I can't tell you how many times I've said no, we hung up the call, and I thought, this deal might happen, most likely won't happen, and then they go ahead and they buy. Now, my conclusion after many, many years in sales didn't turn into, oh, buyers are liars. They're all liars. I hate all of them. Everything they say is not the truth. No, I've learned that there's many reasons why there's these incongruencies, and I'll share these reasons with you. Number one, I think that a lot of times what happens is that the buyer themselves, they don't really know. They don't have the level of clarity to truly know if this is the only price they would buy for, or if they really need this feature or they wouldn't buy. Sometimes they don't know that there are no good alternatives, right? So they go, we can't buy if the price isn't this. And then they go to look at all alternatives and they discover nobody can give me this price, right? So they just didn't know. They weren't as educated about it. Sometimes it is that they are emotional, and this happens a lot. Sometimes in the negotiation, they just get hung up about something. Maybe they just had a bad day. I mean, we all do, and sometimes for really good reasons. And they're just overly pissed, overly angry, overly emotional and irrational. And in the moment, in the negotiation, in the conversation with you, they tell you something that's just not true or that's just not accurate once they calm down, even not accurate to themselves. So sometimes they don't know, they're not educated enough, they don't have the level of clarity they need to have. Sometimes they're overly emotional. And in the moment, something feels very dramatic and they're like, well, we won't buy this, it's outrageous, we will never, ever. And a day or two later, once they've calmed down, situations, circumstances have changed, they look at this again and they go, well, it's not a bad deal, right? Sometimes they haven't really thought through the prioritization of things. And this is, again, a job that you have as a salesperson. Sometimes they tell you they need these things. And in reality, once they really check again, they realize that there are other things that are true must-haves, and the things that they told you they really need, they're just nice-to-haves. So they don't have the prioritization right in their own head. And then last, but certainly not least, a lot of them think it's part of the negotiation process. People are still stuck in the world where if I want to pay $5 for something and you tell me it's 20, I need to tell you I'll pay 2, so you say 10, so I say 3, so you say 7, so I say 5, and you say okay 5, and this ridiculous notion that I'm gonna tell you something crazy because I know I'm gonna have to move in the negotiation down and meet you in the middle. So I calibrate what I really want based on 2 or 3 rounds of going down to meet you somewhere where it feels like I went way lower than I wanted, but really is the number that I had in mind all along. Most people have this negotiation tactic of just lying to a certain extent to get what they really want, because they're afraid if they tell you what they really want, you'll negotiate them down to something they don't want anymore. Those are the nice ones. And then there's just people that have this lose-win mentality in the negotiation where they try to squeeze everything out of you and they just go as aggressive as possible, being as unreasonable as possible and just demanding everything they want. And these people are bullies, And a lot of times in life, bullies get what they want. Maybe not in a sustainable way, maybe not in a karmic way, but they do strong arm a lot of people into the direction they want them to. So they just keep doing it. So they just come into a negotiation. They might not even be bad people. They just come into the negotiation feeling like to do their best for their business and to do their best for themselves, what they need to do is bully you. But it's up to you if you allow them to bully you or not. All these reasons are, most of these things tend to be not somebody that tells you a lie consciously because they want to deceive you. In most of these cases, it's that the buyer themselves just don't know any better. They don't. They lack the clarity. They're confused. They're emotional. They're uneducated. There are many, many reasons. It's your job as a salesperson to help them gain clarity, to educate them. It's your job as a salesperson to qualify them and to really understand them and care about them. It's your job to help them prioritize. It's your job to help them reframe and see the value in what you do. It's your job to sell them. And it's your job to learn from them everything you need to know to have the full picture of what reality really looks like. It's not their job. It's your job. And it's your job to not be naive. It's your job not to believe everything they tell you, but it's also not a good idea for you to mistrust everything they tell you and to disbelieve and to think everyone's a liar, everyone is out there to, deceive you. Both these stances, being overly naive and being overly cynical, will not serve you, and you're not going to be crushing it at sales with that attitude. But they also don't serve the prospect. They're not going to allow you to really help them get the best product at the best time, from the best vendor possible. You don't help them make good decisions. So today, let's all agree that buyers aren't liars and that salespeople just need to be less cynical, a bit more analytical, and definitely less naive, and that it's in our hands to empower buyers to be truth tellers to themselves and to us. All right, I hope this was useful. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. Please share them in the comment section. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to get more of these types of videos if you liked it. And make sure to go to blog.close.io and subscribe to our blog. We publish 2 to 3 times a week with very tactical and strategic sales tips. This is Steli FD. If you want to get in touch with me, just send me an email at steli@close.io or start a conversation with me on Twitter @Steli. Couldn't be any easier. Looking forward to hear from you. Looking forward to a world where salespeople take ownership and responsibility for the relationships and empower their buyers to be truth tellers. Let's make it happen.